up anybody getting shot and killed.
How those
Who
Mets
started that conversation? What?
Everybody needs to stand up a minute.
I just said a story of somebody put a gun on them. I'm talking about anybody getting shot. You want to compare? Never. I know. Never. No, we're not talking about this anymore.
Anywho, what do you want to talk about, Brian? You want to talk about COVID?
Yaakov, you need to clarify on Zoom how you stand up on Zoom.
I'd like to see Yaakov to start the shir.
That's how do I start? I'm waiting for all the hack. I don't know if I lost more news. I don't know. I get my news here, so I'm waiting to hear the news. All I hear.
News.
Yaakov, Icky has a good shaila. How do we stand up for you on the Zoom?
It's a good question.
I mean, why can't you stand up where you are?
Hello, Ari. Very easy. With Zoom, all you got to do is go like this.
Very good,
Anyways,
but Paris, you have to make sure you're not. Paris, you have to make sure you're not in your Zoom outfit. You know.
I was about to say, as long as you go from the top up, you're good.
Paris is overdressed tonight. You know what I mean?
He just walked in and they invited me to Doma.
They invited
real mysterious nefesh.
There you go. They don't invite me. I don't know why. I never get invited.
Yeah, I can see. They just called me. By the way, you're home yet? I said, I just walked in. Well, turn around. I said, okay, thank you.
You get. By the way, you see Paris's camera is going to go dark very soon.
Yeah, but anyways, listen. About the Eliyahu, the bigger hint is to see why from tonight's daf why that halacha was posted. Let's see if you can chop that.
Okay.
Then you get a prize.
What was the halacha?
You're supposed to stand up for a rabbi when he walks in the room.
Michael, you got to check the status, man.
Yeah.
I get text messages, but I get one with a 323 number and from
God, that you're gonna have to take up. You're gonna take that up with Elio. That's his geschäft. This whole thing is his geschäft.
Hey, I'm working through it. We're working on it.
It's hard to manage it with this flip phone, you know.
Good for you with the flip phone. Anyways, all right.
Michael, you only have a flip phone?
I got a BlackBerry, and the Zoom is on a BlackBerry. I got two BlackBerries and a flip.
And the Zoom
he's in the 90s. He's in the 90s.
Clearly, BlackBerry. I haven't seen anybody with a BlackBerry since.
In Boca, I feel like I'm in the 80s.
Yeah, very good.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways.
Okay, so let's see. Amr Rabbi Yosef. That's what we're up to, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
No, yeah, it's about 10 lines up from the bottom. So we finish up with the Haggadah of tonight. We get to make a siyum parrot. You go to Doma, make yourself a siyum on the first parrot, right? So Mishna.
That's an expensive siyum at Doma.
Well, if somebody else is treating,
somebody else is paying.
Now I can't drive there.
Yeah. Okay. So, anyways, so Mordechai HaYehudi was considered the second in command to the Achashverosh, Begadol HaYehudim, and he was very big amongst the Yidden. And he was most of his brothers liked him. Only to most and not all. Some of the Sanhedrin stayed away from him, which is quite fascinating. I mean, it's quite fascinating, this Gemara. I'm saying, right? So Rashi says, "Why?"
You know, I just walked home from Meyer with Yomi Goodman, talking about this whole Beroiv Echov. It's mind-boggling.
Yes, it is. Yeah,
it doesn't make any sense.
Right. So what happened was this Lefisha Batum Midiv. Rashi says Lefisha Batum Midivrei Torah v'nichnas l'srara. He was mavatal from Divrei Torah, and he went into Askanas. Right. Talk about whether this whole controversy about whether you're allowed to leave yeshiva, not leave yeshiva. This he just saved God's Klal Yisrael. He stopped learning. He stayed in the government, and his brothers stopped talking to him. Right, because he didn't learn as much.
Where's Landau and his Hatzalah and all these Hatzalah members? I saw one of the Chaverim guys cheppering the Hatzalah guy over this.
That's what they are. That's really in the next line of the Gemara too. Right? So anyways, but that's what it says.
No, he said there was a pshat brought down that because of Mordechai was back and forth with the same lady for Achashverosh, like what we had before, they were disgusted by him. He's supposed to be the gadol.
That's not what the Gemara. The Gemara doesn't say that. Rashi says it's what he.
I heard a very good pshat in this, Yaakov, if you want. Yeah. Years ago, that by Gedolim or anybody, but they're trying to figure out the Marshal could make a nace or make something happen, right? So the Gadol is trying to figure out why did Mordechai himself, why did the Marshal make it that the only way I could save Klal Yisrael is to stop my learning? He could have made it that I could have continued my learning and it could have done something else. So there must be reason that the Marshal made the Hatzalah come, but I had to stop my learning for it. That's the pshat. That's a tremendous, to me, I mean, when I heard, fantastic pshat. That was
you mean he could have, I talked to her that. You're reminding me, right.
He could have made it, made whatever, however he would have made it. Mordechai could have been the shliach, but would never having to stop his learning, never having to stop his sedarim.
Very good, Taka. I think I heard that pshat. I don't know who said it, but that's very good pshat, right? So then it's not mashma exactly like that in the Rashi.
Okay.
But the Gershon's not on, so megilah we can get away with.
the Ben Yehoyada, I don't know if you saw on the art scroll, or mentions that the Gemara is referring to Mordechai's accepting a high government position after the events of Purim, in order to protect the Jews against any future threats. So maybe that was
so either whenever it was, before or after the Ma'aser, it's the same as Svara.
Right. No, I hear it. I hear it. It's interesting. So my spin on it was the other way around. So why'd Mordechai do it?
Because it's Master Hashem. He knew
someone needs to step up and do it.
Exactly. So what that means is that nobody's wrong here. Nobody.
Maren, I'm disappointed in you. It states like he did it for the covenant. What's the matter with you?
Well, yeah, but it's meaning in this type of argument, right? Everybody argues: should he leave yeshiva? Should he not leave yeshiva? Are you learning guys, working guys? It doesn't mean that they're both right. Mordechai's like, this is the way it went down. I had to do this, right? This is what I have to do for the klal. Oh, I'm not going to be as chashuv and besmerish. So what? That's what you have to do.
Yeah, this is the third time I think we had this so far, and I still can't remember the Maisa where I forgot who said it over. There's two Talmidei Chachamim. One of them said, "L'maisa I had to, was my chiyuv to do what I had to do. You stayed in learning. You're still a more chashuv man, even though this I had to do."
Right. Okay, but I'm saying both of them, right? Both of them.
Right, you had that l'chaim already.
Both of them are chashuv in their own way, meaning, but he had to leave. That was his job. But yeah, so that was part of his.
The bottom line is, learning is still, you're going to be a higher person in learning. Doesn't mean that what I did was wrong.
Right. Yeah.
It's Yaakov. This is a riot to Lakewood, and how they treat everyone else.
That's what I'm trying to say, Akiva. They're both right. They're both.
I just wanted to say it out loud. That's all.
Okay, good. You got it in there. You got it in there. Good. I love you said it and not me. So I thank you for that. But yeah, you go ahead. You see.
I heard from a reliever this morning. So I don't know if he mentioned it before. I just came on. But he mentioned from the Taz, the famous Taz in the Chassam Sofer. He said that of course if it was Atzalas Nefashos, of course he had to do it, but why did it have to happen to him? The Taz and Chassam Sofer both say it.
Oh, so Rabbanan, that's what Rabbanan was saying. Yeah. It's a Taz. It's a
they
Taz.
Don't say it in a good way.
In Hilchot Tzedakah. I think it's in Hilchot Tzedakah. Yeah. I meant to look that up. Now you remind me. Yeah, thank you. It's in Hilchos. Yeah.
But I thought Rabban was saying it like in a good way. I don't think the Taz ever say it in a very like good light.
No, he was saying it in a bad way. He was saying it in a bad way. That's what the taina is. I think that's what I understood, right, Rabban? That's what you're saying. That that was the taina they had on him. He was so crushing. He should have been able to save. Oh, so very good. So it's a Taz. Yeah, good. I believe now that after I'm going to look this up because it's an important. It's an important thing. It's an important thing. Fine. Okay. So Amar Rabbi Yosef, another interesting Gemara. Gadol Talmud Torah Yosef Metzal's Nefashis. That's all they Akiva. That's all they need to see this, right? In Lakewood, it's Gadol Talmud Torah more than Hatzalas Nefashis. The Meikara Chashuv Leim LeMordechai Basar Dalit. They counted Mordechai was number 4 in command. Uluvasayif Basar Chamisha, and then after that he was after 5th. Meikara Ksiv, because in the beginning it says it's a pasuk in Ezra. It says Asher Bo Im Zerubbabel Yeshua Nehemiah Sraya Re'eloya Mordechai Bilshan. So Mordechai Bilshan is number 5. He's number 5 on the ticket, right? Ulubasai, meaning he comes after 4, which is interesting. Why the Gemara is calling it Mordechai came after 4? Why don't they just say Mordechai was number 5?
Trying to make him feel more chashuv. You say the number 4 as opposed to 5. You try to make him feel more chashuv.
Maybe is that the pshat? They did that craziness back then too, not just today.
I don't know.
From Yaakov, the same the Gemara we had when the Malach comes to Yeshua with tinus that he wasn't learning at night, right?
Right.
He says, and now I'm coming now, not to, right. So it's the same thing. What was Yeshua doing? He was reading the box scores. What was he doing? He was doing war strategy. He was looking at the maps of place, but he wasn't. He was either learning or getting prepared for the Mulchama with Amalek, one or the other. But still, they're measured on Chut Saira, like.
Right. Yeah. Right. I hear. Yeah.
The guy kept cheshbonis on his Bittul Torah minutes every day, right? And so.
Yeah.
Okay, Yaakov, so let me get this straight. He got moved from 4th to 6th place. Who exactly is breaking off from him over here? With the guy who was right behind him and moved up is the one that's ignoring him now. Like I'm not hopping. He's still number 5 in the Anshe Knesset Gedela. Who exactly is saying they're more chashuv than him? The people that were above him.
All the special teams players.
I'm just not understanding. Mlamed Shapir makes a Sanhedrin. He
could have been number 1.
Number 6 on the list of chashivas, according to the Psukim.
So he could have been number 1.
Number 1 was more chashuv than him before this.
Right.
I'm not copying. Like you're still a very chashuv person. Like what do you mean? He was still more chashuv than most of the Anshe Knesset Gedela also.
Correct. But the bottom line is chashivas. He went down 1 slot because he wasn't learning. That's all it's saying is that.
Meaning it's the pshat that he went down. It's not the pshat that he wasn't more chashuv than him. Taka was more chashuv than him.
No, that he went. Yeah, but he went down. He went down.
And if he didn't do it, then what would have happened?
According to the Taz, it would have happened anyway.
Would have been destroyed. Kleisel would have been destroyed. Right? No, we're saying he didn't have a choice. He had to do it, but it comes along with other ramifications.
But maybe why can't you say that if someone else could do it, it's not doicha if someone else can't do it, but if no one else could do it, then it is doicha.
Right. So I guess he was the only one that could do it. He was the only one.
Maybe that's not applicable to him. Maybe it's only applicable if someone else could do it. No one else could do it, then why should it be applicable?
I don't know. Okay, that's you saying a chiddush that maybe that's okay. We don't know that for sure. We don't know that
Let them die. I'm in the middle of learning. What does that mean? Kids running into the street. I'm learning.
Right. So you can't say that, right?
Right. So I'm saying so. Maybe why are we assuming that it applies to him?
Same thing like a Levaya.
We're assuming it applies to him because the Gemara says it does.
I know. It's troublesome to me.
But the bottom line is the guy who's learning the 23 hours a day instead of the 22 hours a day is still going to be more chashuv.
That's in Torah, at least. In Torah, he's more chashuv. Yeah, in the Torah.
Still going to be a bigger person. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Yisachar and Zvulun, right? Yisachar and Zvulun, they share equally in the Olam Haba, whatever it is, but only one of them knows the Taisvis.
Right.
Zvulun knows Taisvis, Yisachar doesn't. he'll get the same schar as him, lost his love, or whatever the deal was, but he doesn't know the Tosus.
Right.
That's all.
That's all it's saying. Right. And that's Rabbi Cutler's line, right? Where they said they discussed it, and he says, I know, good, his Olam Haba, I understand, but what's with his Olam Hazeh that he doesn't have Torah, right?
Right.
Yeah, halavai by all of us.
The point is, no one should look down at somebody who's an Hatzalah because you're saving a life. Because the guy who's sitting and needs Hatzalah, he's gonna be davening and be very happy that the guy is on Hatzalah when he needs
100%. 100%. Everybody's got to do what they got to do. That's what it is. Fine.
Can I ask you a little more risque, I guess?
Oh,
if they're sitting and learning Torah 24 hours a day, right? But someone, their chaver is working on their behalf, and maybe he's giving tzedakah, he's got a nice high-paying position, whatever. One is feeding the other, theoretically. How is someone learning Torah full-time or on the Sanhedrin?
I mean, how is he surviving?
Right.
Yeah, that's exactly what Rabban would say.
No, everyone has to walk out, right? At some point, they have to harvest. They have to make. So why would this even be a shiloh?
I'm saying you're such a progressive. The equity of outcome is not guaranteed. You don't get just because you're serving him doesn't make you more cautious than him.
It could be.
I didn't say that.
No, it could be. It could be that in the future, there's different schar. There's schar, and then there's the actual Torah. There's schar, and then there's the actual Torah. All right. So in schar, you're 100% right, Simon. But the bottom line is that you can't say that a guy who's supporting a kollel is considered das Torah because the Torah wouldn't exist without him. Right? He would get the schar. He'll get the schar. He just will not. He will not have the Torah. Right? But you're 100% right. Schar was let's see. Yeshua. Yeshua really. Nehemiah, Azariah, Ramya, Nechemani, Mordechai, Bilshan. So he got downgraded one spot. Okay. Omar Rav Item Rav Shmuel Bar Marsa Gadol Talmud Torah Yosef Binyan Beis Hamikdash. It's even more important than Binyan Beis Hamikdash. Shekozman Shebaruch Ben Neri Yokayim Lo Yanichu Ezra Ba'Olah. Which again, this I think is a bigger kasha than the other ones. So Ezra was supposed to go bring everybody up from Golus and build the Beis Hamikdash. But he said, Kozman, that his Rebbe is alive. He said, no, he's not going because he's got to learn from his Rebbe. Once his Rebbe was nifta, then he decided that we should get out of the Golus and go up to the Beis Hamikdash. So that sounds like
David HaMelech.
That what?
Didn't Hashem say to David HaMelech, greater is to me your learning than 1,000 korbanos brought by Shlomo HaMelech in the Beis Hamikdash? So if bringing korbanos in the Beis Hamikdash is not as great, then Kol Shekain building it is not as great.
Okay, and Hanami, right? But it's interesting because he did stop his learning. It was just his learning from his Rebbe that he didn't stop, right? So I mean, he had to stop his learning in order to travel up from Bavel to Eretz Yisrael. Just the learning from his Rebbe. Okay, whatever it is. So he pushed it off because of that. Okay, Amar Rav Yitzchak Bar Shmuel Bar Marsa Gadol Talmud Torah Yosef Mikibud Avaim. Talmud Torah is even bigger than Kibbud Avaim. Now, this has caused lots of family feuds, this line, right? The parents tell the kid, we don't want you to go to yeshiva anymore. He says, Talmud Torah is more important than Kibbud Avaim. Or the parents ask the kid to do this. I'm learning, right?
There's not like a little bit far from to talk about. If you're Yaakov Avinu, maybe, but like,
No. We
be a little bit normal. What?
Well, I know, but we paskin this way. Talmud Torah is Yosef Mikibud Avaim. That's the way we paskin. And all the paskin ask, well, how could that be? How could that be? Right? We know that that any mitzvah that's iveris, you have to be mevatel. You mevatel your Talmud Torah. So if it's possible to be done through somebody else, so then you let somebody else do it. But Kibbud Avaim a lot of times can't be done by somebody else, got to be done by you, which is what the Pais can say. If it's a scenario where you cannot get anybody else to do it, then Kibbud Avaim pushes off the Talmud Torah. We're talking about where all things are equal, and you have a choice whether you can go to Besmedrish or you go help out by the parents, and there's somebody that's going to help them out, then you don't then you don't, you go learn. You don't do the kibbut avim. I have this fairly often. I'm on the way into Yeshiva Rockaway to learn, and my mother's unloading the car, right, with what she calls bundles, right? Now, do I stop or do I go learn?
Jacob, I would stop now because you're about to get kicked under the table.
No, Baruch Hashem, she's in the other room, so that's why I can say she's in the other room, right? So
doesn't she wait? Doesn't she wait for you to walk out the house? That's what I heard.
Well, sometimes, but sometimes, you know what? Rabbi Perez helped her too. So, not lately, but when he was younger, you know what I mean? But see, sometimes she has a shiksa in the house who helps her out and goes out to help. So it's wrong for me to stop. But if there's nobody else, then yeah. Right? All right, whatever. Just an interesting shaila. This whole like when you do, when you don't. Anyway, Yaakov Avinu base Aver, all the years that Yaakov Avinu was in the base Aver, right? He didn't get punished. Now the Gemara goes through a whole mathematical discourse here of the ages. Damar. Yeah, on top of Aleph now. Now we start the Daf parents. Yeah, Lama Nimnu Shnaisav Shal Yishmael. Why did they count the years of Yishmael? Kedei liyachas ben Shnaisav Shal Yaakov. The only reason why the Torah counted how old Yishmael was in order to figure out how old Yaakov was. So Yishmael was 137 years old. How much older was Yishmael than Yitzchak? Arbei Sashnin. He was 14 years older than Yitzchak, right? As we know from Mila. Avram ben Shmainim Shana Avram was 86. Beledes Hagar as Yishmael, when Hagar had Yishmael, Avram. Uksiv Avram ben Ba'ash Shana B'Yivaliloi as Yitzchak B'nai, and he was 100 years old when he had Yitzchak. Uksiv Yitzchak ben Shishim Shana Beledes Isam, and Yitzchak was 60 years old when she gave birth, when Rivka gave birth to what's it called, Yaakov and Esav. So Yaakov. So then that's the case. How old was Yishmael when Yaakov was born? So he was 74 years old. Kama Paishan Mishna. So how many years left from his life? She's in Nutlas. So he had 63 years left. So Yaakov was to Megilah. Yaakov was 63 when Yishmael died. The Tanya, Yaakov Avinu b'Shoshan is Baruch me'Ava ben Shishim b'Shalosh Shana. Yaakov, when he got the brachas from Yitzchak, was 63 years old. Ubay beperek meis Yishmael, and that's when Yishmael died. Right? And Esav saw that Yitzchak gave the brachas to Yaakov. And he went to Yishmael. And he took Machalas, right, Yishmael's daughter, the sister of Nevias. Now, Mimasha Shenemar Bas Yishmael, any Yadeh Shiyachais Nevias. Well, if Nevias was the daughter, so if he said he's already Bas Yishmael that he married, so the Machalas Bas Yishmael. So why do you say Achais Nevias? Right? There's no reason that's redundant. Right? So Malamet Shekitcha Yishmael Umeis. What happened was Yishmael had made the Kedushin, meaning he got them engaged, right? And then he died. V'si and Nevias Achia. And then Nevias, her brother, gave her to the Nisuin, walked her down the chuppah, right? Fine. So Shisin Utlas for 63 years old, Var Beisar Atim Isyala Yosef, and so 63 when he left his father, when he ran away from Esav because Esav was going to kill him, right? And then 14 years it took for Yosef to be born. Hashivin v'shiva. That means that it's 77 years old, right? That's when that's how old Yaakov was when he gave birth to Yosef. Yosef, and Yosef was 30 when he went to Pari. Hameya v'sheva. That makes 107. Shav the Sava, v'tarti the Kafna. Right, so then you have 7 years of the full years, meaning when they were able to eat, and 2 of the kafna when they were hungry, when there was the drought. So that comes out to 116. And then Pari asked Yaakov, how old are you? Right? I have been going for 130 years. May of a shisha having, what do you mean? It wasn't 130. He should have been 116, right? It's really fascinating when you really crunch the numbers, right? So he told Pari he's 130 when according to our cheshbon, he should only be 116. Elashmami no arba esrei shnin dava beis aver. The 14 years that he learned in beis aver, leichashav lahu, were not counted, right? So Rashi takes out the words leichashav lahu. Yeah, but anyways, the Tanya Yaakov. Now, really, I don't know why the Gemara just couldn't start from here. I don't know why the Gemara needed this whole hakdama, but this is the main part of the Gemara. The Tanya Yaakov beis aver mutman arba esrei shana. Yaakov was hiding in the yeshiva's Shem Veever, well, really just Aver, right, for 14 years. Aver Meis, once Aver died, then Yaakov went down to Aram Naraim for 2 years. Right, because he went out from there and he went to Aram Naraim. When he came to the Be'er to meet his shidduch, right, Ben Shimon V'Sheva Shana, he was 77 years old. Right? Okay, so then how do you know that he wasn't punished for not being Mekayim Kibbut Avayim for the 14 years that he was in yeshiva? Titania Nimtza Yosef Shapirish Me'aviv Esem V'Shnayim Shana. Yosef was missing for how many years? 22 years, right? This is Rashi and Chumash brings this whole thing, right? So Yosef was missing from his parents 22 years. Kashem Shapirish Yaakov Avinu Me'aviv, just like Yaakov spent 22 years away from his father. The Yaakov Tlasim V'Shisa Havin, but Yaakov was away for 36 years. He wasn't away for 22 years, right? Ella our Beiser Dava Beis Aver Lo Chashuv Lahu. Right, the 14 years that he was in Beis Aver learning, that's not counted, meaning it's not counted against him. So that means that, why? Because he was learning. So you see that those 14 years, Yaakov was not punished. Yaakov was punished for 22 years that he was missing Yosef. That's because he wasn't there to be mechabed his parents, right? Oh, he was not there for 36 years. But no, 14 years that he was in yeshiva, there's no punishment, right? So something more says the base love and esem shnin havin. But either way, right? He was away for it's only 20 years. It wasn't 22. No, because the travel took him 2 years. The Tanya Yatza Me'aram Naraim Avaloi L'Sukkos, V'asa Sham Shemona Asar Chodesh, and then he was there for 18 months. Shenemar V'Yaakov Nosas Ukaisa. He traveled to Sukkos, V'Yivin Le'Bayis U'Lemikneo Asa Sukkos, and he built Sukkos. Uveis El Asa Shisha Chadashim V'Hikriv Zvachim. He was there for 6 months. He was Makriv Zvachim. So before we finish the parak, so basically what goes on here is that if you leave your parents and you're not around to be Kibbut Avayim in order to learn Torah, that's no problem, right? So you see two things. Yes, the Talmud Torah does come before Kibbut Avayim, but if you had an option to learn near the parents, let's say, right? This only had no choice. It wasn't exactly that he had a huge array of yeshivas to go to, right? But it's mashma that maybe if one could accomplish both, then he shouldn't leave, right? Meaning, and the other 22 years that he was away, I mean, he went to save his own life, right? It's the same. I think this is like similar to what Mordechai did. Mordechai lost out on his Torah. He had to save Klal Yisrael. Yaakov Avinu had to save his life. Oh, now he's going to get nailed because he didn't do Kibbut Avayim. I mean, he left for a good reason, right? Yet still he got nailed. So, but again, the same lesson. Sometimes you have to do things even though it may end up coming to bite you, but you got to do what you got to do. You have to do it to save his life. Bottom line is that those that are not being Mekayim, Kibbut Avayim, should be very careful. That's all. Because if Yaakov got punished for what he had to do, and he had a good reason, so then Kol Shekain, if you know what I mean, he don't have a good reason, then it's a problem. Right? Okay.
Are there certain elements of
Megila and Nekrait, L'chaim to all those that are having L'chaim? We should many more L'chaim. Many more human.
Are there any elements of Kibbut Avayim that don't apply after someone gets married, both for a man or a woman?
So a woman's shibud is to her husband ahead of her parents. That's for sure in the halacha. right? But a son-in-law does have a mitzvah to be makaber his in-laws. It's not on the same level, but there is a requirement. Sorry about that. But
so here's a quick
other way now. Civic Sheni though, right?
Oh,
Civic Sheni, not so much.
That's already a different story. That's more out covered than it is keeping up. Whatever, yeah.
Isn't there a Gemara that if a woman, if she's sitting with her father and her husband, her obligation is the husband first, but she should serve her father first before her husband?
No. So then you hope the husband's Michael. You hope the husband has the what do you call it?
If he's not Michael, then she got bigger issues.
Correct.
So, Rabbi Stein, here's one that comes up sometimes. Right now, we were on the daf learning about kibbud av. I'm using my phone. My mom just called me. So I switch off the daf to pick up the phone.
It's a good question.
Especially being that I'm the only child in New York.
She's waiting.
Yeah, but the question is if she needs something you right then and there, or she stopped calling to schmooze, in which case you can call her back in a half hour.
I'm not 100%, but I'm saying stopping the daf to answer is not a problem.
Most times, if you tell them you're calling back in a half hour, it's not a problem.
I'm talking about the actual stopping the daf to answer.
$10 deal, she'll say, "Oh, okay. If that's the deal, then I'll call you later."
If that's the only husband, what about me? I can't say I'll call back in a half hour. She's 5 hours ahead.
I hear. So I tell you what the eitzah is. The eitzah is to avoid the whole issue and keep your phone on off.
All
right.
Thank good. Then that's why I have 2 phones.
Michael, you have 3.
It's true, but you know,
Yaakov, I'm going to be a little.
And your mother only knows one of the numbers.
Stay waiting for me. You know what I mean?
You got to stay waiting for you.
You could learn from the phone also.
You know what I mean? Where you're halfway.
All right,
Parrots, what does that have to do with the rest of
Parrots,
us?
don't worry, Parrots. The rest of the daf goes pretty fast. But you can keep the phone on airplane mode and it'll still work with Wi-Fi. Just in case anybody didn't know that such a thing exists. Mm-hmm. But anyway, yeah. Airplane mode. They don't have that.
What did you say? What could you do?
Austin don't know what airplane mode is on his phones. There's no Wi-Fi.
They didn't have airplanes when he had his phone.
What do you mean? I'm on the plane. I'm on the plane more than in the ground.
Yeah, I can't do that. I have to be reachable though.
Yeah. Okay. Listen. Whatever. Yeah.
So Yaakov, anyway. I think what's very interesting is that it says base Aver, not Shem Veever.
Right.
No.
Because at that point, I think it was only Aver.
Right, but why? It's just because the guy died, so they took the name away from the yeshiva.
Some of them, they take away the name even though he's still alive. So he was, so relaxed.
Michael, they get a fundraiser for another donor. What does it matter?
Exactly.
I'm just saying, it's like, it's interesting. It's like,
and we're brother-in-law.
Like Chaim Berlin. It's just called Berlin, not Chaim. I know it's one person, but I'm saying if it was 2 different people, it's just called Berlin now, not Chaim.
It's not the name of the yeshiva. It was the yeshiva of Shem and Aver.
I know, yeshiva Shem Veever. So the guy died, so all of a sudden...
Yeah, it's not the yeshiva of Shem anymore. He's the yeshiva Shalmala.
Yeah.
They were brothers, no?
Don't go there, Parrots.
Oh, boy.
Don't go there.
Hey, okay. Rabbi, does a man's chiyuv of kibbud av change after he gets married?
No.
Ask his wife.
No, it does not. It does not.
What if it interferes? With
that's a big shiloh. That's
it's odd, scenario. The Torah, it's counterintuitive of what the Torah says. The Torah says,
"I can tell me you're gonna go learn, man."
Right, he's got to be. Well,
he has to leave his parents, but she doesn't. And yet, the mitzvah, she leaves her parents, he doesn't.
Right.
Parents' mistake is going to get well done. Let's go.
Charge you the dot. My Uber over there now because I'm still.
I'll drive you. I got to be on the phone anyways. I'll drive you, right? It's like the new parak. Yeah. Now we're into the halachas of reading the Megillah. Yeah. So Hakaras of Megillah lemafreya liyotz. If you read the Megillah backwards, and it doesn't mean backwards like as if you're drunk v'nahapachu, right? It doesn't mean that. It means that you read some psukim first, and then you go back and you do other psukim. Yeah. So then you're not yoitza. Kara al peh, you read about peh. Kara targum, you read just the targum kol lashon in any language. Lo yotza. Avakar nasa l'loyas las balaz, but you are allowed to read it to foreigners in a foreign language, which we're going to have to see in the Gemara because there seems to be steers in the Mishnah. Can you read it with Targum? Not read it with Targum, but you are allowed to read it to those that are foreign in their language. Okay, we'll see in the Gemara, Bez Hashem. But Aloyas, Sheshama Ashuris Yatza. But Aloyas, this bails us all out right here. This sentence bails us all out, right? Aloyas, meaning you only understand English and you don't understand Lashon Kodesh. Sheshama Ashuris, if you hear it in Lashon Kodesh, you are Yatza.
What's pshat in this Mishnah and the last one? It calls the language Ashuris. Rashi had to say Lashon Kodesh in the last Mishnah. Here, why does it call it Ashuris?
Yeah, I don't know why it calls it Ashuris. Ashuris basically means Lashon Kodesh, but it's not really. It should be called Lashon Kodesh. That's what Gershon is bothered by. Yeah, fine. Korah Serugin. If you read it, Serugin, meaning you start and then you stop and then you start and stop, meaning you get phone calls in the middle of your Megillah, then you get it right. Fine. Yeah, we won't go there. Umasnam name, and if you doze off, then Yatza Yatza. Fine. Hayakaisva. If you're writing a Megillah, darsha, or you're dashing about the Megillah, a magia, or you're
hold on. If you doze off and you miss, or if you doze off and wake back up, but you don't miss. Words.
No, we're talking about a guy reading now himself. He reads, dozes off, continues reading. Though we're not talking about a guy listening. We're talking about a guy reading himself.
He's not missing, parrots. He doesn't miss.
Okay.
Do we have a similar halacha by krias?
Yeah, exactly. Yes, we do. Yes, very good. Yes, so
it's Yaakov. Parrots has a steak waiting for him.
There you go. No, he wanted to know pshat. Right? You're writing it, you're darshaning it, or you're looking it over. If you have kavana, you're yotza. Right? And now from here it's mashma mitzvahs trichas kavana, right? Which on the rabbanans we know we paskin that mitzvahs really don't need kavana, right? From here it's mashma that mitzvahs do need kavana, right? But the question is it a rabbanan? Okay.
Why is it mashma that? It's mashma. All it's mashma is that you can't have an opposing kavana. I can't have kavana to write it and all of a sudden, I read it.
Well, so this is the shaila, how you learn mitzvahs. What does this mean here, right? Here, what I mean, it sounds like you need to have kavana to be yaitza.
If I'm doing something else with the Megillah, that means I officially have an opposing kavana. Well, I have a different kavana.
It's not opposing. You're reading the Megillah. You're reading it, right?
Yeah, but not. I'm reading it because that's the halakha and how to write.
Well, so that's the question. Is the reading here meaning that you have to mamish have kavana l'shem mitzvahs Megillah, or do you have to have, like you're saying, just kavana that you're reading a Megillah for reading it as opposed to just checking it, right? Okay, we'll see in the Gemara a little bit. Yeah, ksuva besam besikra kumus kankantam. Those are all types of inks. Ala niyar v'ala diftera. Those are different types of parchments. Lo yotza. You're not yotza. You're not yotza with any of those. Achete ksuva shuris. It has to be again written in a shuris, which is the way Sifrei Torah are written now. Allah sefer on parchment, ubidiyah, and it has to have black ink, no other color inks. Yeah, fine. Okay, so Zog the Gemara minan immediately. How do you know that you can't read it lemafreya? So Gemara gives very interesting answers. Amar Rav Damar Kra kichsavam chizmanon. You're supposed to read the Megillah the way it's written and at its time, meaning mazmanam lemafreya loy, just like Zmanam we already learned in the first parak is the 14th and the 15th, right? Purim is on the 14th and the 15th. So just like there's Zman is the 14th, 15th, not 15th, 14th, right? Which is obviously that you can't have 15th, 14th. It's got to be 14th, 15th. So too, when you're writing the Sefer Torah, af ksavam l'mafrei Allah, you can't write it or read it backwards. It has to be written, said over in the order of the psukim and the prakim the way it is. So the Gemara says, "Midi kriya ksiva." Doesn't say anything about reading here. It says kiksavan ukizmanam asiya ksiva. It says here doing to do these 2 days, which means for the simcha. Doesn't say anything about the kriya, right? So who says that the kriya has to be in order, right? The simcha has to be in order. The simcha of the 14th and the 15th has to be in order. It's from here to and these days will be remembered and done. Iskish sechira lasias. We make a hekish from being mentioned, which is how we know you have to read the Megillah. Lasia to the way when you do it, meaning you do the simcha. Masi lemafrei aloi. Just like by the Asiyah, you can't do it backwards, meaning the 15th can't celebrate before the 14th. So to Zechira also, the Mafreya not. Fine. Tana, V'chein,
Hallel. Say that if Shabbos falls out the 14th and the 15th, then if the 15th falls out on a Shabbos, then you end up
that was a Machlokes. That was a Machlokes. That was mamish. You're right, Binyam. That was exactly the Machlokes. Do you make sure that do the unwalled cities have to always read before the walled cities, or only when it's right? So we had a Machlokes whether that it had to be like that. Yeah, very good. So Tana v'chein b'Hallel v'chein b'kriyas shema b'tefillah. Right. So the same thing. Hallel has to be in order. Krias shema has to be in order, and shemona esrei has to be in order. Hallel minalon. Rabba Amar d'chsib mizrach shemesh ad mevoyoi. From when the sun rises until it sets. So just like the sun rises and sets, it's got to be in that order, right? It can't set before it rises. So the same thing, the Hallel has to be in order. Rabbi Yosef Amar Zeh hayom asah Hashem. This is the day Hashem made, right? Just like the day goes in a proper order, so too the Hallel has to go in a proper order. Rabbi Avi Amar Yishem Hashem v'vayrach. The name of Hashem should be gebenched, right? Should be blessed. Right, and it's the same way that the brachas are always in the same order. So just like when you bench Hashem is the same order, so Hallel is the same way. From now and forever, right? Which means it always has to be forever. Hallel has to be in the proper order. Okay, so krias shema, the Tanya krias shema kiksava. Krias shema has to be written, meaning you have to say it over the way it's written, meaning you have to say over krias shema in Lashon Kodesh. You can't say over krias shema in English. Divrei Rebbe, Chachamim disagree, and they say you could say krias shema in any Lashon. My time with the Rebbe, how come Rebbe holds that it has to be said over dafka in Lashon Kodesh on Makra? So the pasuk says on Talmud Beis now v'hayu, it should be kehaviyas and Yehu. It should be the way it's written. Right, since it's written in the Torah in Lashon Kodesh, so therefore you have to say krias shema Lashon Kodesh. For Rabbanon, my time, and Rabbanon, what's the reason? Amakra Shema b'chol Lashon shata shemea. It says Shema Yisrael, listen, in any language that you can hear it, even in another language, as long as you could hear that Hashem is one, then that's enough. Now the Gemara goes back and forth why each one doesn't look like the other. Rebbe Nami Hoksiv Shema. What does Rebbe do with Shema? Again, Rebbe holds that it has to be written in, has to be said in Lashon Kodesh, right? So what does he do with the Rabbanon? Rebbe Yanami Hoksiv Shema, that Shema, it has to be heard by your ears, what you're saying from your mouth, meaning you can't just mouth Shema. You have to actually whisper it to hear it. The Rabbanon Savri, command Amar Akara Shema, and the Rabbanon don't need a pasuk for that, because they hold that you don't have to have the krias shema does not have to reach your ears. So then the Gemara asks, "Rabbanon nami huksiv v'hayu." What do the Rabbanon do with v'hayu? So umivayle shalay yikra lemafreya. He's telling you that you can't read krias shema lemafreya, which is how we got into this whole thing in the first place. For Rebbe, shalay yikra lemafreya minale. How does Rebbe know that you don't read krias shema lemafreya? From midvarim hadvarim, right? Because it says an extra hey. So that teaches you that you can't read it backwards, meaning out of order. For Rabbanon, dvarim hadvarim loy mashmalu, and the Rabbanon, they don't hold of dvarim hadvarim. Fine. So then lema kasava Rebbe kol Torah kula b'chol lashon nemra. Why don't we say that according to Rebbe, the whole Torah could be read in any language. Because if according to, again, Rebbe holds that Shema has to be read in Lashon Kodesh, right? So we're saying now must be that the whole Torah can be read in any language, because if the whole Torah has to be read in Lashon Kodesh, so why do you have to say Shema has to be read in Lashon Kodesh? Mashma, Shema is the only one that, if he's saying Shema has to be read in Lashon Kodesh, Mashma the rest of the Torah not. What are you saying?
So now we're comparing all Hilchos Shema to Hilchos Megilla?
No, we're talking about Stam, the rest of the Torah. Meaning, if you're saying that Shema has to be said over in Lashon Kodesh, that's mashma that the rest of the Torah doesn't have to be, right? That's what comes out according to Rebbe. The rest of the Torah can be said over in English, right? Because if the rest of the Torah has to be in Lashon Kodesh, then you don't need a pasuk to tell you that Shema. You don't need v'hayu to tell you that Shema should be written in Lashon Kodesh, right? So these are the b'lashon hakodesh never. Lama lila mechta v'hayu. Why do you need v'hayu for? It's just basically a fancy way of saying why does Rebbe need a special limit to tell you Shema has to be in lashon kodesh if the whole Torah has to be in lashon kodesh? So Gemara answers no. It's the Shema kirabanan. You would think no, the whole Torah has to be read in lashon kodesh, but maybe Shema we would go like the Rabbanon and allow it in any language. So Katzar Rachmana v'hayu to tell you not like the Rabbanon. Right? So now what does it mean? Just quickly, sorry about this, parrots, but what does it mean? B'chal lashon nemer. The Torah is b'chal lashon. So Rashi, the third line down, says the krias b'chal lashon, b'lechein itzer v'kriyas shema v'hayu. Right? I mean to read the Torah and all the shyness, meaning that you could read that you have to read the Torah. You can read it in English, right? So Tosfos asks a kasha. The Tosfos right across from there says it's krias Torah is not midaraisa. Krias Torah is midarabbanan. Right? So what are you saying here? That you're going to start comparing Shema, which is deraisa, to the rest of the reading the Torah, which is the Rabbanon. So Tosfos says what he means is the parshias of that are deraisa, right? Like when there's a chalitza, you have to read it over, and egla rufa, and bikurim, and parsha zachar, right? These things. That's what Rashi is referring to. Okay. Fine, let's find in the Gemara. So the Gemara asks, Lema, the opposite. Lema Kasavi Rabbanon. Maybe the Rabbanon hold Kol Torah b'lashon hakodesh nemra, that the whole Torah is said in lashon kodesh, right? Because again, the Rabbanon are saying that Shema can be in any language. Mashma, right? That the rest of the Torah is got to be in lashon kodesh. Because if you think that the whole Torah can be said in any language, Lamali lemifta Shema. Why do you have to say Shema, right? What's special about Shema? So the one answers it. So Shema. No, because you would think that maybe the whole Torah could be written in any language, right? I'm sorry, your whole Torah is written in lashon kodesh. Shema is dafka in lashon kodesh. So that's what he's coming to tell you, that Shema is telling you that even Shema could be written, it can be said over in any language. Fine. Now the
Shema is special.
What do you mean?
We have to say Shema twice a day. There's a mitzvah deraisa to say Shema twice. We don't have to say the whole rest of anything from the Chumash the whole day.
Right. So but meaning true. But why do you need a special limud? Must be that the rest of the Torah is different than Shema. Right, that's all the Gemara is trying to say. That the rest of the Torah is different than Shema. Right, that's exactly what it's saying. Must be the rest of the Torah is different than Shema. That's what the Gemara is thinking. Is being ma'ir. Now the Gemara goes through now the entire shemona esrei. Yeah. So tefillah minalan. How do you know that that tefillah? Meaning, how do you know? Because we said that there's three things: Hallel, Shema, and shemona esrei have to be in order. So tefillah minalan, how do you know that shemona esrei has to be in the right order? The Tanya Shimon Hapekuli, his shemona esrei brachas. He was mesader 18 brachas l'fnei Rabbi Gamliel ala seder in the proper order b'yavne and yavne. Some Rabbi Yochanan Ramilov and Masnisa Tana, and Rabbi Yochanan said that, and others say it was in a brisa Me'ah ve'esem zkenim. There were 120 zakenim with a common neviim, and there were many neviim as part of the zakenim. Tiknu shemona esrei brachas ala seder. They're the ones that were misakin it. So we have two versions, which the Gemara is going to ask on tomorrow's daf, of why they needed two different people, like who was misakin it. Bottom line is there's two versions of the people. Either it was Shimon Apekuli or it was the zakenim. So Tana Rabbanan, Menayin Shamrim Avos. How do you know you say Avos, meaning the first bracha shemona esrei? Shenemar Havul Hashem. There you go. There's your niggin parrots, right? So, right, give to Hashem. Then we're going to go through this whole parak and Tillim. B'nei Elim, the strong people, which is referring to the Avos Avram Yitzchak Yaakov. When we nine Shamrim Gevuras, how do you know you say the second bracha Ata Gibar? Shenemar Havul Hashem Kavod Va'oz. Give to Hashem strength. I mean, you're not giving to him, but acknowledge that Hashem gives strength. Fine. And when nine Shamrim Kedushas, right? Then the next bracha is Ata Kodesh. Shenemar Havul Hashem Kavod Shemai Hishtachu Hashem Bahadras Kodesh. So you're giving then this kedusha. Umaro Lamer Bina Acher Kedusha. Where do you get Bina? Meaning Atachainin, right? Day of Bina Vahaskel comes after kedusha. Shenemar V'Gdishu as Kadosh Yaakov as Elokei Yisrael Yaritzu. It's a pasuk in Yeshaya, right? So it says that you're supposed to you're gonna have a kedusha, right? Ritzu is also lashon kedusha, but samichlei v'yadu saye ruach bina, and the people that are those who made a mistake in their ruach are gonna understand. So you see that bina comes right after kedusha. Fine. Umaro lamer tshuva achar bina, and then the next is hashivenu. Tichsiv u'levavai yavin v'shav v'rafaloi. So it says, and his heart is going to understand, and then he's going to do tshuva, and then he's going to be healed. Ihachi lemer refuah passer the tshuva. So if that's the case, so why doesn't Refainu come right after hashivenu avinu, right? Lo yisagadaita, right? Because again, the pasuk here says yavin, and then do tshuva, and then Refainu. Right? We don't do it that way. We have re'ev onyenu in between. Why don't we say refuah comes right after the tshuva? Darlem remembers this from Slichas, right? So, and let him go back to Hashem, and he's going to have rachmanas on him, and then he's going to be mar b'lislayach. So therefore, slicha comes after tshuva. Umay chazes the samchas aha samach. Meaning now, but now we have two psukim. One pasuk says that slicha comes after hashivenu, and the other one says that refuah comes after. So how come you're picking one over the other? Umay chazes the samcha aha. Why are you relying on this pasuk to tell you slicha comes after hashivenu? Why don't you say refainu? Come samach aha, because samach on this one. So Gemara says no, because there's another pasuk. Kasav kra achrina hasalech v'chalav imechi. He forgives all raveir. So raifi l'chol tachluayfi, and he heals all sicknesses. Hagayel mishachas hayachi, and he redeems. So you see here in this pasuk is slicha, then refuah, and then geula. L'meimra de geula v'refuah basa slicha. Do you mean to say that geula and refuah come after slicha? Right? I'm sorry. Not a question. That was a statement. Remember, the geula v'refuah basa slicha. Geula and refuah come after slicha. Oh, but v'shav v'rapaloi. It says v'shav and then heal. So you see that there's tshuva and then refuah. Hahu lav refuah the tachloim. That refuah that's possibly referring to is not a refuah of sickness. Ela refuah the slicha. It's a refuah of forgiveness. Meaning it was the same, but that refuah there means that he's forgiven. So that's why that's salah. The slicha there is, that refuah there is referring to slicha. Fine. Umaro lema geula b'shviyas. How come it says re'eva nenu, right? Ugolenu mer l'matshva. Why is geula the seventh bracha? Amarav mitay shasidin ligoyel b'shviyas. Because we're going to end up being redeemed in the 7th year. Lefikach kavua b'shviyas. Therefore, they were kaveya in the seventh bracha. These next few are quite interesting. So because it's going to be in the 7th year, so therefore we make it the 7th bracha. Okay. We want to ask b'shishis kailos. The 6th year there's going to be sounds, meaning how do you call it? Rumors that Mashiach is coming. B'shviyas milchamas, and the 7th year is going to be milchamas. But motzei shviyas ben David ba. And Mashiach is going to come in the 8th year, Motzei Shviyas. So what are you saying that it's going to be in the 7th year? So that's a controversial sentence right there, right? That the fight is already the beginning of the Geula. If anybody, again, that's the second reference this week to Yom Ha'atzmaut or whatever it is, right? Aschalted the Geula, right? It's the beginning of the Geula. Omaro lema refuah b'shminis. So how come Refainu was the 8th bracha? Because since Mila is on the 8th day, so therefore shatricha refuah, and you need to be healed from Mila. Lefika kavua b'shminis, therefore they made it at the 8th. Okay, I don't understand, because Mila is on the 8th day, so therefore make it the 8th bracha. Chveis nicht. Fine. Umaro lemer birchas hashanim b'chias. How come we say birchas hashanim for Parnasa, Amar Rabbi Alexandri, Keneged Mafki Yisharim, because that's against the people who raise prices. Tichsiv Shvar Zroya Rasha, break the strong people that are Rishayim. But David Ki Amra B'Chias Amra, and David, when he said this in the 9th parak in Tehillim. So therefore, Baruch Lenos for Parnasa. So we want to break the people that raise the prices. Umaro lemer kibbutz golias lacha birchas hashanim. How can we have to kav a shofar after birchas hashanim? Tichsiv va'atem harei Yisrael anafchem titenu perichem tisu la'ami Yisrael ki kervu lavai. Right, because the Harei Yisrael they're gonna have branches, and there's gonna be a lot of fruit, and it's gonna come soon. So therefore, you see, when you're having a lot of fruit, then there's gonna be the geula. So the megilah, after we daven for parnasa, that we're gonna have a lot of fruit. So then we'll go from there. V'kimach in eskabtu golias, and since the golias got together, nas the din b'rishayim, there goes with the din for the rishayim. Shenamar v'ashiva yada alecha v'etzor koyt sigecha uksiva ashiva sheftarek v'rishayim. So then you'll have to do. Then we return. Fine. Okay, I guess let's stop here because it's a little late. Okay, we'll continue this tomorrow. Bez Hashem.
I think he doesn't get his extra credit.
Oh, what? Okay, we just missed it. Okay, that's for tomorrow. Shoot, we just missed it.
So, Yaakov, what were you saying about you don't give ois to Hashem?
Right, that's tomorrow's stuff.
Okay. You
don't give brachas to Hashem.
Rav Aaron,
I'll come back tomorrow to find out.
Rav Aaron, what happened in the White Shul with why they shut down the daf shir?
They didn't shut down the daf. They just did it on Zoom.
Yeah, I saw an email. What happened?
Yeah, Rabbi Khan, I guess some of the older men in Rabbi Khan's shir didn't want to come in person anymore because of the Omicron or whatever.
So the whole thing's on Zoom.
Yeah, Rabbi Khan is all on Zoom now. He was in the shul. Now he's all on Zoom. Yeah.
How's his son feeling, by the way?
I didn't speak to him in a while. I can't answer you intelligently.
You don't? I thought you go to the shir. Okay.
No.
He was sick. No, wasn't his son?
I go to this shir instead to look at you and Aaron Kaplan. I switched.
Okay, I'm happy you got to see me. I was thinking of blocking.
Aaron, we're happy to be able to do that mitzvah for you.
Thank you very much. I need to know.
Michael, it's our pleasure, no?
You need to see something handsome during the day.
Right.
Wait, Rav Aaron, are you still in touch with Rav Shmuel?
Shmuel Grossman?
Yeah.
I go to Shmuel Grossman every morning.
Wow, you're like first in, last out.
Well, yeah, it's difficult, but yeah,
some people are last out, and how's it go? The opposite.
Think about that one.
Last in, first out.
That's Hilchos Yom Tov. Hilchos Shabbos is first in, last out.
I'm just saying, some people going to the first year and the last year of the day. It's not so easy.
So this is easy for me for Yiddish. This is what I do for Yiddishkeit.
Yeah. Not easy.
They don't judge me like they judge Mordechai. You know what I mean? I do this. It's good.
Yeah, in order to do that, we have to start off with Ratzei L'Kol Echad. Then you can judge.
Someone told me a good part. Someone told me a great part from what's his name? From who's the Paisik in Yerushalayim? What's his name?
There's only one Paisik in Yerushalayim, so we can definitely figure it out.
Of the old city, Rav Nevensol. Rav Nevensol, isn't Rav Nevensol the Paisik of the old city?
Yeah.
So my brother told me, he said a great vart. He said being dan lakav schus is completely b'diavad.
Yeah.
Yeah, the vart of Aaron. He says because lechatchila nobody should judge somebody, but if they're going to be dan lakav schus b'diavad.
Very good.
That's Michael. That's very good.
I love that vart.
That's an intelligent person saying that. Yeah.
I love that. It's a great vart.
You can see a chachma v'yid with that. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. Okay. I get
to all right. I get to
Parents, why are you still here, man?
I got away from my Uber.
Where are you going?
To a restaurant.
Oh, enjoy.
What do you have to